Welcome to the SMART competition. This is the AECOsim Building Designer, Tutorial 1 on Solar Exposure Calculations. This is the first time you've opened Building Designer. You want to come down here to the lower right and make sure you change your user to SMART Designer. That will put you in the SMART project folder with all the files that you will need for this competition. We're going to start in this working model file and simply double-click to open it up. Once the working model file has opened up, you will see two views of the gymnasium building that we are using for this exercise. We have an isometric view here on the left and a top-down plan view here on the right. So let's start by taking a look at just where the sun is on this site. This site has a given orientation, it's at a certain latitude and longitude, and therefore there is a given solar path. If we go down to our visualization task on our taskbar and come down, there's an Edit Solar Path tool. So let's go ahead and select that. You can see that puts a compass around your building. You can see north is straight up. And if you look here in the isometric view, you can see the actual solar path of the sun. And I can actually grab the sun and move it around and see where the sun would be at any given time and day within that solar path. If I right-click, the solar path will go away. So the next step is to actually do the solar exposure calculation. Calculate how much solar exposure each surface of the building has on a given day at different times of the year. Now, in order to do that, we're going to actually turn off the surrounding site information. As you can see, if I zoom out here, there's quite a lot of site information. We don't want to calculate solar exposure for all of that, only for the gymnasium building. So no need to do unnecessary calculations. So we're going to come up to our reference file dialog up here on the top menu, and you can see there are two files attached here, the civil site plan and our gymnasium building. We're going to select the civil site plan. We'll scroll over. There is a display column, and we're simply going to uncheck that column for that particular reference, and we'll close it up. And we can use the Fit View tool there. Now we have just our gymnasium building, and we will calculate the solar exposure on that. So we'll come up here to Utilities, Solar Analysis, Solar Exposure Calculator. That opens the Solar Exposure Calculator dialog. All of this is explained in the tutorial. We're going to essentially select View 1. We're going to output this to a separate design file for a duration of 1 day, and we simply have to select that date. So we're going to use the spring solstice, March 20th, and select OK. And it begins the calculation. And now it's going to output that solar exposure calculation file in the same folder. It's going to append that with the word solar, so it's working model solar. And we're going to want to go ahead and add to that the date, because we're going to do a number of these on different dates. We want to keep track of them. And I'm also going to add base, because this is our base calculation based on the given orientation, and then you are going to experiment with alternate orientations, and you'll want to keep track of those as well. And we simply say save. Alright, so here we are in that new file that we've just created. Let's go ahead and enlarge this view. So there you can see, there's our gymnasium building, although it's been recolored based on this legend, and this shows us the amount of hours that the surfaces have solar exposure throughout the day on March 20th. You can see some of the areas, the roof areas, some of these south-facing areas of the building are up in the 12-hour range, whereas some of our east-facing surfaces are down in the 5 to 6 hour range. And you want to rotate that building around and look at all those surfaces. And of course, you may want to save some images for your final report, and you can do that very quickly. Go to Utilities, Image, Capture, and you'll have a tool there for either capturing the screen or a particular view window in a number of different formats, such as JPEG or TIFF. Now we can use our Previous Model button down here in the lower left to go back to our working model. Now we're going to look at how we're going to change the orientation of the building. Okay, so again, we're going to open our reference dialog box. And this time we're going to select the gymnasium building. And if you look down here, you can see there's a rotation. So currently it's at 0 rotation. We can simply change that rotation. We want to rotate it 90 degrees. We simply type in 90. It's going to take that building and rotate it on our site 90 degrees. You may even want to turn your solar path back on so you can see that in relation to where the sun is and think about the types of orientations that might give you a better solar calculation. Go ahead and close that, and then obviously to test that you would again run your solar analysis calculator again at the various times of year at the different orientations, and you can compare your results. Okay, now you're ready to get started and run your solar calculations.